All right, everyone, welcome back to another video. And today, what I have for everyone is my full review of the CMF Phone 1 by Nothing. And in today's video, I'm going to give you guys and gals my overall thoughts on this device, being as I've used it for a good amount of time. And I feel like I've gathered up my thoughts and opinions on it. And that's what I'm going to share with everyone in today's full review. Also, I'm going to give my overall thoughts and opinions on the whole CMF by Nothing ecosystem and whether or not I can recommend that you guys and gals go out there and pick up the phone itself and or all of the companion accessories, whether that be the smartwatch or either of the earbuds. Okay? So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys and gals know whether the phone is worth picking up and or if the whole ecosystem is worth picking up and how I feel that ecosystem and device compares to some of the other available ecosystems like the iOS ecosystem and the iPhone or the Pixel Google ecosystem or other Android devices like the Google Pixel 6a itself, and how this device and or ecosystem might stack up to other Android devices in the same price point. So without further ado, I hope everyone finds this video helpful, and let's begin. So starting off here, the first thing I want to talk about with everyone is the overall build quality and design of the CMF Phone 1 itself. Now, yes, this device is in a case. I will have a separate review on the case in a different video, but I'm keeping the case on because I am Mr. Super Clumsy, but that does not affect how I feel about the overall build quality and design of this device on the whole. Now, talking about the overall build quality or build materials, this device is built out of a combination of polycarbonate plastic and Gorilla Glass. Okay? With that being said, this is a polycarbonate replaceable back shell or back cover, as CMF likes to call it. So it does come with an accessory screwdriver, and you can remove these back screws. And this is a hand tightened screw right here, and swap out different back covers or back plates, and or swap in different accessories. Okay. Now, as of the time of recording this video, I have not been able to get my hands on the different accessories, but there are some accessories that I did want to try out, like the kickstand accessory or the wallet accessory. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find a way to get my hands on those accessories to try them out. But in terms of the overall build quality and design, I feel like that interchangeability and the ability to swap out different accessories is really, really cool. And talking about the overall build quality on the whole, I feel as though the build quality is top notch. There's no rattling or creaking on the back of the device, the side of the device, or the buttons, and everything feels very solidly put together, and all the buttons themselves are very tactile and very clicky, and the device itself has a very nice balanced feel and weight in the hand. So overall, in terms of the build quality, I have to say CMF has done a top-notch job here. And talking about the overall design, I have to say I'm a big fan of this design. This is a very functionalist / utilitarian design, and that's kind of me in a nutshell. So I do like the overall clean look of it and the industrial look of it with the minimal company branding on it. So overall, I feel as though the design as well is top-notch. So the build quality and design on the whole for the CMF Phone 1 is top-notch in my opinion. Okay? Now, moving on, let's now dive into the overall display. Now, up front here, in terms of the display, we are packing a 6.67-inch 1080p plus display with a Super AMOLED display technology. Okay? And in particular, this is a high refresh rate 120 hertz display. Now, as I talk about how I feel about the display in terms of daily usage and how I feel it performs, and put up some B-roll as to how it performed outdoors, I'm going to just play a video so y'all can see just how good the display looks. And this is a nice 4K video. Let me verify for everyone right here. So if we go to quality, you can see if we go to advanced, this is a nice 4K video right there. Now I'm just going to stream it in 1080p because that's the maximum resolution for the display. So let's put it at 1080p and let's go ahead and push play. Okay, so y'all check that out while I talk about the display. Now, in terms of the display, as I said, it's a 1080p plus display. In particular, it's 1080p by 2400, and it is a 20:9 aspect ratio display. So it's a slightly stretched, wider display, and it has a screen density or pixel density of 395 pixels per inch. Just for you guys and gals that like to know the actual numbers and resolutions of the display. And as I've said, it is a 120 hertz high refresh rate display. Okay? But with all the technical stuff out of the way, this display performs pretty much perfectly in terms of day-to-day usage. Okay? Whether I was using this display indoors or outdoors, I didn't have any issues. Okay? Now, in terms of the brightness, indoors, this display has a max brightness of 500 nits. Outdoors, with auto brightness turned on, this display has a max peak brightness of 2000 nits. And again, whether I was using this display indoors or outdoors, didn't have any issues seeing the display. Check out the B-roll that I have thrown up in post. This is a phenomenal display. And again, from a display aspect, I feel as though CMF did a great job. Okay? And just so everyone knows, I cannot distinguish between a regular 60 hertz display refresh rate and a 120 hertz high refresh rate. So I pretty much bumped this display's refresh rate down to 60 hertz just so I can keep the battery savings. Okay. And that's what I'm rocking with. Okay. So I much rather take the battery savings over having that higher refresh rate that I can't readily distinguish with my eyes. But it is a high refresh rate for those of you that like that. But overall, it is a really good display in my opinion. And again, in terms of the display, I feel as though CMF has done a top-notch job here. Okay? Up next now, I just want to dive a little bit deeper into the hardware and the software aspects of this device. And then I want to give you guys and gals my overall opinions as to how I feel the hardware and the software of this device work together. Okay? Now, diving into some more of the hardware, this particular device comes in two RAM storage configurations. The lower end variant, the $200 variant, comes with 8 gigs of physical RAM and 128 gigs of onboard internal storage. This device does have micro SD card expansion. It does have the ability to use virtual memory or virtual RAM, which they call RAM boost, up to an additional 8 gigs. Okay? As well as this device does have a rated on paper 5,000 milliamp hour battery. We're going to dive into that a little bit later on in the video. As well as this device does have one bottom firing speaker, as well as a fast charging USB Type-C data port. And this device can fast charge up to 33 watts. Okay? Again, we're going to expand on the charging a little bit later on in the video. Other than that, this device does give you the ability to use either 2 nano SIMs, 2 physical nano SIMs, or 1 nano SIM and 1 micro SD card. I had to correct myself because in the unboxing, I said you can use eSIMs on this device. You cannot. I'm sorry about that. I was excited, kind of got ahead of myself. You can only use physical SIMs and a micro SD card with this device. Okay? And we already talked about the display up front, dead center here. We have a 6.67 inch 1080p plus AMOLED or Super AMOLED display. Okay? And talking about the cameras, we have a dual camera setup on the rear. We have a main 50 megapixel sensor. Okay? And then we have a secondary 2 megapixel depth sensor for portrait and depth information. Up front here, we have a 16 megapixel front-facing selfie camera. And in regards to the cameras, you can record up to 4K at 30 FPS with the rear-facing primary camera, or do 1080p 60 or 1080p 30 or 1080p 120 frames per second slow motion, okay, with the rear-facing cameras. On the front-facing 16 megapixel camera, you can only record up to 1080p at 60 FPS, okay? We're going to dive into how I feel about the cameras a little bit later on in the video, okay? Other than that, in terms of the hardware, I think that about runs down everything. In terms of the processor, we're rocking a MediaTek, I'm not sure, flagship or mid-range processor in the MediaTek 7300 CPU and its accompanying GPU, okay? In particular, this GPU is the Mali G615 MC2 GPU. Now, I'm not as well versed in MediaTek's architecture, so I'm not sure if this is considered a mid-range chip or a flagship chip, okay? I don't know about that. I'm not a MediaTek guy, okay? But that goes over all of the hardware aspects, right? Now, in terms of some of these software features and other hardware that I almost forgot to mention, we do have an under-display optical fingerprint sensor. And you can see right there, it pretty much works perfectly, okay? And we also have always on display built in to the display. And this is more of a Motorola-like implementation of the always on display. So when you let your device sit for a little bit, eventually the display will go off. And if you pick up the device or move the device, so you can see if I tap it, the display comes back on. Or if we let it go off again and I pick it up, the display will go back on. Okay? And every so often it kind of moves around the image to cut down on screen burn-in. So you do have always on display built into the CMF Phone 1 as well. And you also have Face Unlock. So you can use your Face Unlock to get into the device. So you do have a variety of different ways that you can unlock the device or use the device. Okay? So that officially goes over all of the hardware. Now, let's dive into how I feel about the software on the CMF Phone 1. Now, I've done a separate dedicated full software walkthrough, so I'm going to link up that video down below in the video description if you guys and gals would like to know more about the onboard software here. But I'm just going to give my overall opinions as to how I feel the software performs. And then I'm going to give my overall opinions as to how I feel about the hardware and the software on the whole. Now, software-wise, this is rocking Nothing OS version 2.6 on top of Android 14. Okay? And this is actually slated to get 2 years of OS updates and 3 years of security patches. I had to correct myself again. I made that mistake in the unboxing, and I said this would get 3 years of OS updates and 4 years of security patches. No, this will get 2 years of OS updates and 3 years of security patches. Okay? But in regards to the software, I do feel as though CMF has done a great job with the software experience. I like their customizations that they've added to Android overall, and I really do feel as though some of their customizations need to come over to stock Android, okay? Google, you guys need to take notes because you got up and coming brands here doing incredible things with their software and still maintaining performance overall. Like, you do have the ability to make folders of your applications, but you can also act on those applications directly from inside of the folders, and you can resize the folders as well. That's one of my all-time favorite features. Okay? So I can have everything folded up exactly the way I want it and have quick access to all of my favorite applications without opening up the folders, just from directly inside the folders. So my phone can always stay clean and organized, and I know exactly where everything is. That's one of the cool things that I like about the OS, along with their very subtle customizations to the software that I think are some very nice touches. Other than that, in terms of the software performance, I have to say the overall performance is really good. Not quite top notch, because I did notice that there were some instances where, even though I made all of my daily applications so they don't come out of the RAM. So if you jump into the settings, you can pick any application on your device. And if you go down here, you can see there's an option to pause the application when you don't use it for a while. And when you do that, it kind of closes it and pushes it out of the memory. So then when you have to go back into the said application of your choice, it has to reload everything. Now, what I've done is I went in and I turned off that feature on all the applications that I use on a daily basis. So like my banking applications, some of my social media applications, some of the media applications that I like to use, some of my work applications. This way I know that those applications are always ready to go when I need to pick up my device and use them. And sadly, there are instances where even when I open a application, it did have to reload, even though it was supposed to be already loaded up in memory. And there were instances where I left an app open, okay, expecting it to be open when I picked up my device. So I opened the app, put my device down, I went and did something, and I was expecting to come back and see the application open, only to find that my device was on the home screen and that application had been closed. So although I would have to say the software experience is really good and the performance is really good, there are some issues with the overall software fluidity and RAM management still on the whole. And in regards to using this device with the other CMF devices, there are some still connectivity issues. Now, I'm beginning to chalk this up to being an Android RAM management and connectivity issue and not just a CMF issue, because I've had that same issue on other Android devices, and I've also used this device with maximum RAM boost. Okay, just so y'all can see. Okay, I have it set right now to maximum RAM boost. So it has 8 gigs of virtual RAM, and it has the 8 gigs of physical RAM, and it still has that memory management and connectivity issue. And I've tested it with the RAM boost, and I've also tested it without the RAM boost, so using just the physical memory, and it still has that issue. So this is why I have to say the overall software performance and experience on the day-to-day in terms of day-to-day performance is just really good. Google and Android in general still has to figure out their memory management and their RAM management, and I do feel as though there's still a connectivity issue with certain devices. And that's kind of sad, because if you use Google exclusive devices, you don't have as many issues. But it's only when you're starting to get to third-party Android devices, then you start to run into some issues. So it is what it is. But talking about the overall hardware and software on the whole, I have to say CMF from Nothing has done a really good job. Okay? Now let's move on and let me give my overall opinions on the overall Wi-Fi performance. And I'm also going to give y'all a Wi-Fi test, which will also double as a speaker test. And shout out to a good friend of mine, your boy Two Phones, for letting me feature his music in my videos. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just move my microphone real quickly down a little lower. This way y'all can get a nice audio sample. I'm going to put it like right here. Make sure it doesn't fall. Right there. That way y'all get a nice audio sample. And then we're going to load up the music. And I'm going to let it play. So let's max it out. Okay, 100% volume. So this will give you an idea of how the Wi-Fi performs and also give you a dedicated speaker test. And then for reference, we do have one bottom firing speaker down here. I'm also going to talk about how I feel about the overall speaker placement and speaker performance after this test. And I do have the applications loaded up in memory, so y'all will get to see a live demonstration of the memory management. Okay, so let's load up the music now, 100% volume, and let's go ahead and push play. Scrub through it, bring it back. Bring it forward. All right, let me let it play. Okay, real quick Wi-Fi test, real quick speaker test as well, so y'all can get a nice sample as well. And again, thank you, bro, for letting me feature your music in my videos. I'm gonna link up my good friend Two Phones music down below in the video description. If you like what you heard, click the link, go ahead and give him a subscribe, give him a follow, and let him know your boy Eric Drummond sent you over there. Appreciate it, bro. But with that being said, now you guys and gals have heard a real quick sample of the bottom firing speaker. Let me fix my microphone and I'm going to come back and give y'all my thoughts on the overall speaker placement and speaker performance. So give me 1 second. Okay, let me just clip this back on. Okay. All right, that should be on. All right, and now, so overall, how do I feel about the speaker placement? Well, number one, in day-to-day usage, it's okay to have a bottom firing speaker, but when you're consuming content, or as y'all saw from the B-roll earlier, let's say this was in one of my car mount cradles, this speaker is very easy to obstruct or muffle. So I kind of wish there was at least 2 speakers on the device, and I kind of wish they were front facing instead of bottom firing. But other than the speaker placement, I'd have to say the overall speaker performance is just really good. The speaker does get very loud, crisp, and stay very clear. Now, it is lacking a little bit in the bass department, but it is punchy for the single speaker that it is. So overall, the speaker performance, in my opinion, is really good. Am I a fan of the single firing speaker? No. Am I a fan of the placement? No. But for what it is, it does a really good job. All right. Moving on now, let me turn this back down so we don't run into any audio issues. Moving on now, let's talk about the overall LTE and the supported bands on this device. Now, in terms of the supported bands, this is a GSM unlocked device. Okay, so what does that mean? This has all the GSM bands, and as you can see here, as I load it up on GSM Arena, and if this is unclear, I'll go ahead and throw up a screenshot of it in post. This is all of the available bands for the CMF Phone 1. Okay, so this should have no problems working on carriers like AT&T and or T-Mobile, and it does have all of those supported bands as well. Okay, now unfortunately, this is an LTE only device, at least here in the States. So you'll only be able to get 4G LTE in terms of data. You won't really be able to get 5G. But with that being said, for me in my testing with my AT&T Free Up mobile SIM, I had no issues in terms of the data. And you can see if I turn off my Wi-Fi here, just to give y'all an idea of the overall performance, turn the Wi-Fi off, you can see it launches the LTE no problem, and everything still works. And you can see we're running on 4G LTE right there. And just so you can see, we are using AT&T on Free Up Mobile. Okay, just so y'all can see that. So if I go back into something like YouTube and we load it back up, it loads up and it plays no problems. Okay, and just so y'all can see, so you're like, oh, E is preloaded. No, if we come out and I refresh it, it loads back up without issues. Okay, so you can see it reloads. Now it's doing double duty because I have a video playing, but you can see it reloaded, no problems. And then even further still, I can go ahead and load back up my good friend's music here. So let's get out of YouTube. Let me pause that real quick. And let me load back up SoundCloud. Jump back in, push play, and then it will load up on the data. Okay, and you can see it's playing on the SoundCloud. Now I have the speakers muted, so y'all can't hear it, but it is playing. Y'all can see the timeline was going, and we can pause that as well. So LTE on AT&T via the subcarriers works no problems, and y'all should have no issues running this on T-Mobile as well. And honestly, in my time with the device using my Free Up Mobile AT&T SIM, I have not had any issues. Now, in terms of performance, in terms of coverage, there are some weak spots in terms of coverage on AT&T in my Florida area. In particular, when I go to places like the gym, I don't have the best coverage over there, but everywhere else, coverage was not an issue, and my data, phone calls, and everything of that nature worked perfectly fine. Okay, so at least in terms of LTE and supported bands, as long as your carrier supports those bands and it is a GSM carrier, you should have no issues with data, phone calls, or anything of that nature with this CMF Phone 1 device here. Now, I do want to caution people, however, this is using a sub-carrier of AT&T. AT&T going through the main carrier, they can be a little picky as to what devices they allow to run on their main AT&T network, as well as some of AT&T's subcarriers like Cricket can also be a little picky as to what devices they let run on their network. So you really have to just check with your carrier, check your carrier supported bands, configure the APNs, and try it out for yourself and see if it should work. And y'all can see using my carrier, it worked no problems. Other than that, this device does state that it has limited support for CDMA networks, i.e. Verizon networks. It does not have data on that network, however. You can register this device on Verizon's network and have the ability to make and receive phone calls, but you will not have data support. And you will have to call Verizon and have them add the device to the network via adding the device's IMEI for your call and text to work, but you won't have the data. Okay. Other than that, it's not CDMA network compatible, but it should work on any GSM network in terms of the bands and coverage. It just depends on your location and your specific coverage for your carrier. Okay? I just wanted to point that out so everyone knows. So you're not caught by surprise if you pick this up and you have issues. Let me turn my Wi-Fi back on so we don't use up any more of my data. And we're connected back to the Wi-Fi. Okay? So that goes over the LTE and that goes over the supported bands. Now, let's go over the Bluetooth performance on this device. Now, Bluetooth-wise, this device is packing Bluetooth 5.3. So not the latest and greatest Bluetooth, but overall in terms of performance, I honestly have not had any issues. And I've connected up a wide variety of devices with this device in terms of the Bluetooth, and I haven't had any issues in terms of Bluetooth performance. I've connected up all of the CMF products and some third-party accessories, and I haven't had any issues in terms of Bluetooth. Sending and receiving files, no issues whatsoever. So the overall Bluetooth performance, in my opinion, is top-notch. Top-notch indeed. Same too can be said for the next category, the GPS performance category, which is what we're going to talk about now. In terms of GPS and turn-by-turn navigation, I did not have any issues, and I use my GPS often, and I had no problems. So the GPS performance on here is top-notch as well. Now, moving on, let's talk about the overall call quality through the built-in receiver and the overall speaker call quality through the onboard speaker, okay? And how the overall call quality was on this device. Now, because I gotta keep it straight 100 with you guys, I have to tell y'all in terms of calls, I didn't do too many receiver phone calls. I did mostly Bluetooth connected devices phone calls, okay? But the few receiver phone calls that I did, it sounded perfectly fine. Everything was very loud, crisp, and clear, and I had no issues hearing the callers on the other end, and they had no issues hearing me. Now, also, I want to be completely 100 with y'all. I did mostly video calls, okay? So when we say video calls, that basically means Google Meets, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, okay? And in regards to video phone calls, which is what I do mostly, I had no issues with this device, okay? Now, talking about call quality through the speaker, it was the same thing as the receiver. And again, I did mostly Bluetooth phone calls. And Bluetooth phone calls, I had no problems, okay? But taking speaker phone calls, it was very loud, crisp, clear, and I didn't have any issues. Callers didn't have any issues hearing me, and I didn't have any issues hearing them. Okay? So call quality and speaker call quality on this device is top-notch in my opinion. Again, much like with the LTE and supported bands from the earlier category, this category heavily depends on your specific carrier and your carrier's coverage and your specific location. Your guys and gals results may vary, okay? The only way you can take this with any type of validity is if you stay anywhere in the Florida area, okay? And you're running on one of AT&T's networks, whether that be the main AT&T carrier network or any of AT&T's sub-carrier networks. And even then, your location is still going to play a big part on the overall call quality and speaker call quality coming out of the device. So your results may vary, okay? I want to make sure I make that abundantly clear for everyone. Oops. Uh-oh. Don't unclip the mic now. Don't. Come on now. I'm going to spill off my shirt. Don't do it. All right, come on. I had to bump the tripod and almost dropped the mic off. Excuse me, y'all. Let me fix this. Okay? Good. Whoops. Bumpy cam production causing problems. My bad, everyone. So that goes over the call quality. That goes over the speaker call quality. Let's move on to some other categories now. And I think I shifted the camera a little bit. There we go. So moving on now, let's talk about my overall experiences with these cameras. Now, I've done a separate dedicated camera review / camera walkthrough. I'm going to link that up down below in the video description as well. I'll link up all of my extended coverage on all of the CMF products down below in the video description. So if this video piques your interest and you'd like to know more about this device and certain areas where it performs or other CMF products, I'll have all the CMF coverage linked up down below in the video description. Okay? That being said, I'm just going to talk about my overall experience with the cameras. If y'all want a more in-depth look as to how the cameras perform, check out my full camera review / walkthrough video because I go over everything you need to know in regards to the cameras on this device. Okay? But for me, when I am judging cameras, I'm judging it from 3 distinctive categories. Okay? Point and shoot photo performance, point and shoot video capture capabilities, and overall audio capture capabilities. These are the 3 categories that I care about most in regards to smartphone cameras. Okay? And just as a refresher, we have a 50 megapixel camera on the back, which caps out at being able to record up to 4K video at 30 FPS. And we have a 16 megapixel camera on the front, which caps out at being able to record 1080p video at 60 FPS. And in regards to how I feel these cameras performed, I would have to say these are some really good cameras. Are they as good as something like my iPhone? No. Are they as good as something like my Pixel? No. The iPhone and the Pixel, in my opinion, are still the kings of point and shoot photo capture capability, point and shoot video capture capability, and overall audio capture capability coming out of the onboard mics when we talk about smartphones. But these cameras and these microphones on the CMF Phone 1 are still really, really good. It's just going to take a little bit of a second longer to line up that shot and make sure you get it the way you want, and a little bit of a second longer to line up that video and get it dialed in and make sure it's the way you want. And the overall audio capture capability on the cameras on the CMF Phone 1 is really good. Now, sadly, you don't have the ability to use Bluetooth connected audio. So I couldn't use the mics from something like my Buds Pro 2 to capture audio for a video that I was recording with the cameras on the CMF Phone 1. I couldn't use the mics from something like my Neckband Pro to capture audio for a video that I was recording with the CMF Phone 1. And I couldn't plug in external audio via the USB Type-C port to capture audio with better mics on the CMF Phone 1. So you can't use plug-in audio via the USB Type-C port, and you can't use Bluetooth connected audio with the CMF Phone 1. There's no compatibility for it with the stock camera application, and everything that I tested did not work. So sadly, I was kind of bummed out by that, because at least with some of the other devices in this category, you can do that. Okay? On devices like Samsung devices, you can do that. iPhones, you can do that. Google Pixel devices, you can do that. And these are all devices in this same category. So I was kind of bummed out by that, but it is what it is. But overall, when I talk about my opinions on the cameras, I have to say overall, these are some really good cameras on the CMF Phone 1. Okay? Now, let's move on now. Up next now, this would be the category where I talk about the gaming performance, but I am not a gamer. But what I will do is I will link up some of my favorite content creators that focus on gaming and performance, and check out those videos linked up down below. They do a much better job than I could ever do, and they are some of my favorite content creators for gaming. Okay? Check out their content. If you enjoy their videos, give them a like, give them a subscribe, and let them know that Eric Drummond sent you over there. Okay? But I don't game. It is what it is. Let's move on. Up next now, let's talk about the overall battery life and the overall charge times of the CMF Phone 1 right here. Okay? Now, in regards to the battery, like I said earlier, and I'm going to throw up some screenshots and some B-roll for y'all to see, but like I said earlier, this is rated as having a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Y'all can see all of my testing applications for verification verify that this device should have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Like you can see AccuBattery here, it says 5,000. You can see Ampere right here, it says 5,000. But for some strange reason, I feel as though this is not a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. In just under a month of usage, you can see it's saying my battery health is at 95%. Okay? I feel as though for a month, even though I am a heavy user, it shouldn't be at 95%. So that led me to do some extra research, and I found that this battery in this device, and I'll put up the screenshot, is actually a 4920 milliamp hour battery. Now, it's rated as being up to a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but it can also be as low as a 4920 milliamp hour battery. And I feel as though that's the battery that I may have on this device. Okay? Check out that screenshot so y'all get a nice shot. There is one of my favorite channels that does device breakdowns. He did do a device breakdown on this device, and you got a clear shot of the battery and the battery capacity. I'm going to link up his channel down below in the video description as well. He does a really great job on disassemblies and repairs. Good stuff, bro. Keep up the great work. But y'all can see in just under a month of usage, my battery is saying that it's at 95%. That cannot be true. Okay? So that leads me to say that I might have the lower rated battery on my device. Okay? Now, moving on, talking about the overall battery life on the whole, before we dive into the charge times, I would have to say the battery life on this device is phenomenal. Like y'all can see it right here. I easily get through a full day. Okay? And I'm easily averaging between 10 and 15 hours of on-screen time. Okay? So the battery life, in my opinion, on this device rivals something like the Moto G Power or any of the Moto devices that have great battery. Okay? Just so y'all can see some of my results right there. Okay? And talking about the charge times here, this is a 33 watt compatible fast charging device. And at least for me, it does fast charge, but it is very finicky. Okay? I tried all of my fast charging bricks and fast charging cables, and out of all of my cables and bricks, I think I only got 2 of them to work and get the fast charging. And other than that, all the others were not getting fast charging. And then I also noticed that if the device got slightly warm while it was charging, it would severely derate the charging speeds. I didn't say overheat. I said slightly warm. Okay? Because there were instances where I was charging the device. Let me show y'all some of the charging metrics. And all of a sudden, it just derated. And then I went from getting really fast charging speeds, like you can see here, to getting really slow charging speeds. So you can see this particular test, it took 2 hours. Okay. That particular test, it took 1.5 hours or just over. This particular test, it took just over an hour. Okay. That particular test, it took just over an hour. This one was 2 hours because it derated, and so on and so forth. This one was just under 1.5 hours. Okay. That one was just under 1.5 hours. This one was 2 hours because it derated. This one was well under 1.5 hours. And there are a few here that was under an hour. You see, this one was right at an hour. so on and so forth. So when I did get it to fast charge properly, it was charging up in about an hour to just over an hour. When it started to derate, then it was charging up in about an hour and a half to just under 2 hours. And I don't like that. And I feel as though CMF should have included a compatible charging brick in the box with the device and a compatible charging cable for fast charging. This way, when you plug it in, you can get the fastest charging speeds every time you plug it in. Now, they didn't provide that out of the box with the device, but they do sell that separately. They do sell a compatible charging brick and a compatible charging cable separately, but I do wish that that was included out of the box with the device. Yes, you can raise the price a little bit and just include that so we're guaranteed to get the fastest charging if we decide to pick up the device. Okay? But that's what I got in terms of charging speeds, and that's what I got in terms of overall battery life. And in my opinion, the charging speeds and battery life of this device is really good. Do I wish the charging speeds were faster? Yes, especially coming from the lineage that CMF is a part of. CMF is a sub-brand of Nothing. Nothing is a sub-brand of OnePlus. OnePlus is a sub-brand of B&K. And B&K, OnePlus, Nothing all have really fast charging device support. Okay, so I was expecting a lot faster charging from CMF, but for what it is, it's right on par with some of the other devices that I have. So an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, so it's really decent charging and phenomenal battery life. But overall, taking everything into consideration, the overall charge times and battery life on this device is really good. Okay, at least in my experience and in my opinion. Now, moving on, let's get into the final part of this video. Let's talk pricing. Let's talk overall availability. Let me give my final thoughts and make recommendations. Now, as I said earlier, this is the maxed out variant of this device. This device comes in two storage configurations, RAM and storage configurations. The base model, the advertised $200 model, comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of onboard storage. The maxed out model, which is a little bit more expensive, comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of onboard storage. Okay, that is what y'all see here today in this video. This is the maxed out variant, and after taxes, this one ran me just over $316 and change. I'll have a screenshot of my digital receipt thrown up in post. Okay? For that price, I feel as though this is a really good device. Okay? And this really does compete very well with other devices in this price category. In particular, iPhones like the iPhone 11, which also can be had in this price category in the same storage configuration, is a little bit cheaper. Okay? And then Pixel devices can also be had in the same price category for a little bit more expensive. But this device does compete very well with these devices as well as other devices in this category. In particular, Motorola devices. Okay? All the Motorola devices that I've had, I've always complained that the cameras can be a little bit better. Okay? The cameras on the CMF Phone 1 definitely are better than the Motorola devices that I've tested. So Motorola, you should be very scared because you got an up-and-coming company here, up-and-coming competitor here that offers better software support and better cameras at a similar price. Okay, so y'all really need to get it together. But overall, can I recommend that you guys and gals go out and pick up the CMF Phone 1 if you're in the market for an affordable device and you want a really good overall solid device that's not going to break the bank? I would have to say yes, yes indeed. And talking about the whole CMF ecosystem, okay, and especially comparing it to other ecosystems that I've tested. Can I recommend that y'all go out there and pick up the entire CMF ecosystem? Well, I would have to say yes. Is it perfect? No. It still does have some connectivity issues, but everything does work really, really well. Okay? That being said, am I going to be keeping all of these products from CMF? Well, honestly, I'm going to have to say no. These are some great products and they do offer a lot for the price point that they're at. But for me, I feel like I get a lot more reliability from other products. Okay? The ecosystem from iOS, from Google, from Samsung is a lot more reliable and seamless than I feel the ecosystem from CMF is. So am I going to be keeping all the CMF products? I'm going to have to say no. That being said, I haven't decided if I'm going to give them away or sell them and put that money back into the channel. But overall, I can still recommend that y'all pick up all of these products that y'all see in the video today and on the table today. And I can also recommend that you guys and gals go out there and pick up the CMF Phone 1 if you're just in the market for an affordable device. This device and all the other products should serve you well, just as long as you know what you're getting into. Okay? So that, guys and gals, does it for today's video. Again, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed today's video. I hope y'all found it helpful, as I always say. If you did, please help your boy out by giving the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. If you'd like to see more content like this, also feel free to hit the subscribe button down below and make sure you click off the notification bell icon right next to it so you guys and gals get notified when new videos go live on the channel. Also, if this video piqued your interest, all the affiliate links as to where y'all can pick up anything featured in today's video will be linked up down below in the video description. And as the name implies, those are affiliate links, meaning that if you guys and gals make your purchase using those links, I do get a small percentage of commission that I do put back into the channel at no additional cost to you guys and gals. Okay, so I consider those affiliate links a win-win for everyone, and that makes the video description a one-stop shop for you guys and gals. Okay, so today's video was also recorded with the rear-facing cameras on the Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus, recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS, and I am using my professional clip-on wireless audio to record all the audio for today's video. So please let me know what you think of the overall video quality, as well as what you think of the overall audio quality down below in the comments. As always, all your feedback is greatly appreciated. I'm also using my professional studio lights as well. So please let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall lighting as well. All of your feedback, as always, is greatly appreciated. And just remember to keep it respectful, please. I hope everyone is having a great day. I hope you guys and gals are staying safe out there. And I will catch everyone in the next video. Have a good one, everybody. We are out of here. Peace. All right. This was officially the last video that I wanted to record and get out for everyone. Now, for the rest of the year, I do have scheduled content that I'm going to be releasing every Friday. So this will be the last Sunday drop video that you guys and gals see. But please stay tuned to the channel because I have scheduled content coming out every Friday, at least up until the middle of December. And then I'm going to take a few months off and we're going to come back into the new year and start producing videos and dropping content again. Thank you guys and gals so much for your continued support, your continued feedback. Thank you so much for sharing the videos, commenting, asking questions. I appreciate it so much. Leaving likes. Y'all don't know how much that helps me out and keeps me going. Have a good one, everyone, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one. We're out of here. Peace.